In a quiet village far from big cities, there lived a boy named Toma. He was thin, always wore old clothes, and carried a small notebook everywhere he went. While other children played games or helped their parents in the fields, Toma sat under trees or beside rocks, drawing. He didn't draw normal things like flowers or animals. No, Toma drew strange machines with wheels that floated, tall buildings with lights, and skies filled with glowing lines. People didn't understand his drawings. They said his pictures looked like nonsense. The children called him names. The adults just shook their heads. "Why do you waste time with this, Toma?" an old man once said. "Drawing will not give you food." Even his own uncle, who raised him after his parents passed away, didn't support him. "You'll never earn a coin with that notebook," he would say. But Toma didn't stop. He didn't know why, but he felt something deep in his heart every time he made a new drawing. It was like the pictures were coming from somewhere, a place far away but real. One night, as the stars twinkled above, Toma sat alone near the hill behind the village. He had a small fire, his notebook, and a piece of charcoal. The wind was cold, but he didn't care. He closed his eyes for a moment and saw something in his mind. It was a glowing circle. Around it were small shapes, triangles, dots, and lines that moved slowly like they were alive. He opened his eyes and began to draw fast, his hands moving as if they knew what to do on their own. When he finished, he looked at the picture. It was strange. He had drawn a large ring, filled with symbols. It looked like a door, but not like any door from a house. This one seemed special. He stared at it for a long time. Then, lightning flashed in the sky. Boom. The fire almost went out. Toma covered his notebook to keep it dry. He stood up, ready to run home. But when he looked down at the drawing again, his heart skipped a beat. The lines on the paper were glowing. Not just the drawing. The paper itself gave off a soft white light. Toma rubbed his eyes. "Am I dreaming?" he whispered. He touched the page, but it felt warm, not like normal paper. He closed the notebook and hurried home through the wind and rain. The next morning, Toma woke up late. He had kept the notebook under his pillow. When he pulled it out, the drawing was still there. But it wasn't glowing anymore. He sat up and looked around. Something was different. There was a small sound, a soft hum. Toma looked toward his wooden table. Floating just above it was a tiny cube, no bigger than an apple. It was silver, smooth, and had glowing blue lines on its sides. He stood up slowly. The cube didn't move. It just floated, spinning slowly in the air. "What is this?" he asked aloud. The cube suddenly beeped. A soft voice spoke. "Drawing detected. Pattern confirmed." Then, a light came out of the cube. It scanned Toma's notebook and created a hologram, a floating image in the air. Made of light. Toma gasped. It was the same strange city he had drawn months ago. Tall towers, flying cars, and clean, shining roads. He stepped closer. Buildings looked real, almost alive. Then the cube beeped again. Portal ready. A circle of light appeared on the floor of his room. It was the same shape as the one in his drawing. It pulsed with energy. Toma looked at it with wide eyes. His heart beat fast. He was scared, but he was also full of wonder. He reached out and touched the light. Suddenly, the world around him spun. When the spinning stopped, Toma opened his eyes. He was standing on a large street made of smooth white stone. Around him were tall buildings made of glass and metal. The sky was blue, and the air smelled clean, like after rain. But there were no people. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Toma walked forward. A car with no driver rolled past him, making no sound. Lights turned on as he moved. Screens lit up when he looked at them. He was in a real city. Not a dream. Not a picture. And somehow, it was his city, the same one from his drawings. Toma stepped into a tall building with shining doors. Inside, a soft voice spoke. "Welcome, dreamer. He looked around. Who's there? A screen turned on in front of him. A glowing face appeared. It was not human, but kind. I am Luma, the guardian of this place. This city is called Novi. It was created long ago by people like you, people who imagined and created. Toma was speechless. You brought the city back to life, Luma continued. Your drawing activated the last energy. You are the chosen one. Me? Toma asked. But I'm just a fool with a notebook. No, said Luma. You are a dreamer, and dreamers build the future. Toma stood in the quiet city, full of wonder. Back in his village, they laughed at him. But now, his drawing had opened a door to something much bigger than anyone had ever believed. And this was only the beginning. Toma stood in the middle of the glowing city, unable to speak. Everything around him was quiet, but not dead. The buildings stood tall and clean. The roads were smooth, made from a glass-like stone. Lights blinked gently from poles. Screens showed colorful images as he passed. He felt like he had stepped into one of his own drawings. He walked slowly through the street, looking at every detail. He saw machines rolling along the roads, small round vehicles with no drivers. A tall tower nearby blinked with a blue light at its top, and below it was a large round building shaped like a flower. Toma whispered, "This place, it's real." Suddenly, the floating cube beside him lit up again. A soft voice spoke from it. "Welcome to Novi City." Toma looked down at the cube. "Novi?" he repeated. "Yes," said the voice. "You activated the portal by drawing the lost pattern. You are the first human to enter Novi in 200 years. Toma's heart jumped. 200 years? He asked, "But who made this place?" The cube floated higher and turned toward a tall building nearby. "Follow, the core is waiting." Toma followed it through the quiet streets. Birds flew above and cool wind passed through the empty lanes. Though there were no people, the city felt alive. As they reached the tall building, the doors opened by themselves. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light. Lines and shapes, just like the ones Toma used in his drawings, moved slowly across the floor. The cube floated into a large room. At the center was a round table, and above it floated a spinning light. From that light, a face appeared. It was not human. The face was smooth and made of silver light, with kind eyes and a calm voice. "I am Luma," it said, "guardian of Novi City. Thank you for waking me, dreamer." Toma stepped back. "Me? But I'm just a boy who draws strange things. I'm not special." Luma smiled. "Special does not always mean strong or famous. You are special because you imagine. The world forgot how to do that. But you did not." Toma looked around. "Where is everyone? Why is this city empty?" Luma's face turned serious. "Long ago, this city was built by your kind, by humans. They were dreamers, artists, inventors. But over time, people stopped believing in dreams. They stopped imagining, and the city lost its power." Toma blinked. "But how did my drawing bring it back?" "Because your drawing carried the old pattern," Luma said. "The pattern is the heart of Novi. It connects imagination with creation. Your mind reached into the memory of this place and called it back." Toma was silent. He thought of all the times people had laughed at his drawings, the names they called him, the way he had to hide his notebook when walking in the market. Now, the same notebook had opened a door to a forgotten city. "But why me?" he asked again. "Because you never gave up on your dreams," said Luma. "And now Novi needs you." Toma's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Luma's light flickered. "The city is not fully alive. Its energy is weak. Only one section is working. The other areas are still locked. To unlock them, more creative energy is needed." "You mean more drawings?" Toma asked. "Yes," Luma replied. "But not just yours. We need more dreamers, more people who imagine and believe. Toma frowned. But in my village, they don't believe in dreams. They think I'm a fool. Luma's voice became soft. Sometimes the world laughs at what it doesn't understand. But when one person dares to dream, others begin to listen. Toma looked down at his notebook. He slowly opened it and saw all the pages he had filled: floating cars, glowing towers, animals made of light, machines that flew like birds. Can I go back? He asked. To my village? Luma nodded. Yes, the cube will take you. But remember this, your mission is not finished. You are the key, but not the only one. You must help others believe. Toma took a deep breath. I will try. The cube floated beside him again, and a circle of light opened behind him. It looked just like the one that had appeared in his room. Goodbye, dreamer, said Luma. We will wait for your return. Toma stepped into the light. He opened his eyes and found himself back in his room. The sun was rising outside. Birds chirped in the trees. The cube floated quietly beside him. It had only been one night, but Toma felt like everything had changed. He ran outside with his notebook in hand. The village was waking up. Farmers were preparing for work. Children were playing near the well. He went to the small square in the center and sat on a stone bench. He opened his notebook and began drawing. At first, no one noticed. But then a little girl came over and watched. What are you drawing? She asked. A city, Toma replied. A city from the future. She tilted her head. Can I see? He showed her the page. Her eyes grew wide. It's beautiful. A few other children came closer. One brought a piece of paper. Can I try too? He asked. Toma smiled. Yes, draw what you see in your mind. Soon 5 children sat around him, all drawing. A woman passing by stopped and stared. What's going on here? Toma's drawing the future. One of the children said. She raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. More people stopped and looked. Toma didn't care if they laughed. He kept drawing. Inside his house, the cube scanned the children's drawings and beeped quietly. A message blinked inside its core. Creative energy detected. Portal power rising. Before, he was the boy people laughed at. Now children followed him with pencils and paper, asking how to draw flying cars, glowing buildings, and silver towers. They sat in groups, drawing what they imagined, not worrying about perfect lines or right shapes. Their drawings were full of dreams. Toma didn't teach like a teacher. He just shared his notebook and said, draw what you feel. Even strange ideas are good. And somehow something amazing happened. The cube, still floating in his room, began to glow brighter. Every time a new drawing was made nearby, the cube beeped softly. It scanned the sketches when no one was watching, storing their energy like food. Then one night, as Toma was falling asleep, the cube spoke again. Creative level, 72%. Portal unlocking. A light opened under Toma's bed. The circle was brighter this time, pulsing with energy. Toma sat up, heart pounding. He picked up his notebook and stepped inside the light. In a flash, he was back in Novi City. But something had changed. The last time only one road and a few buildings had been alive. Now half the city glowed with life. Lights danced across streets. Machines rolled along clean paths. Trees shimmered in the wind like they were made of soft glass. Toma smiled. He walked toward the center tower where Luma lived. The doors opened and Luma's glowing face appeared. Welcome back, dreamer, the soft voice said. Toma looked around. The city looks brighter. Yes, said Luma. Your village's drawings gave the city more energy. The dreams of children are strong. Toma felt proud. But he also had a question. Why does this city need imagination to live? Luma blinked gently. Because Novi is not like old cities. It was built using mind tech, technology that listens to thoughts and feelings. It grows through ideas. When people stopped imagining, The city began to sleep. But why did people stop imagining? Toma asked. Luma sighed. The world became too focused on rules, numbers, and control. People were told to stop dreaming and be serious. So dreamers went silent. Toma looked down. He understood that feeling. He had spent years hiding his notebook. But now, said Luma, the dream has returned. Toma smiled. I want to see more. Luma's image moved aside. Follow. The light. Toma walked down a hall he had never seen before. As he passed, doors opened, showing rooms with floating chairs, gardens made of color light, and walls that played music when touched. Then he entered a giant dome. Inside it, images floated in the air, children's drawings from the village. Some were rough, some were bright, all were full of wonder. A flying goat with wings, a rainbow house, a fish that could sing. Each image gave off a gentle glow. These are their dreams, Luma said. The city listens, it remembers, it grows. Toma felt small in the big room, but happy. Then, Luma's voice changed. But not all news is bright. Toma turned quickly. What do you mean? Someone has taken interest in your cube, Luma said. An adult from your village. He wishes to own the cube, not understand it. Who? Toma asked. A screen lit up. A face appeared. It was Bren, the tall, loud man who always mocked Toma at the market. Bren laughed at my drawings more than anyone, Toma said. He has followed the light from the portal, Luma said. He does not believe in dreams, but he wants the power. Toma's hands tightened around his notebook. What can I do? Return to your world, Luma said. Protect the dream. Toma stepped back into the portal. It closed behind him. Returned to his room and looked out the window. It was just before dawn. The cube floated beside him, silent. Suddenly he heard a knock at the door. Toma. A small voice said. It was Mira, the little girl from the village. Toma opened the door. She looked scared. Bren is asking about your box, she said. He said it's magic and he wants to buy it. Toma nodded slowly. Thank you, Mira. He closed the door and sat down. He knew Bren didn't care about drawings. He only wanted power. And the cube couldn't be used by someone who didn't believe. Still, Toma was worried. That night, he had an idea. The next morning, Toma stood in the village square. A crowd had gathered. Adults and children waited to see what he would say. Toma stood beside a wooden table with blank sheets and pencils. I want to tell you something, he said. The world is full of hidden places. Places like Novi, where dreams become real. The adults laughed softly. Another story, someone said. But Toma continued. You don't have to believe me. Just draw. Draw what you feel. Draw what you hope for. That's enough. Then he began to draw in front of everyone. He drew a simple machine. It looked like a flying boat with trees growing on top. Mira joined him, then others came. Even some adults hesitated, then picked up pencils. At the edge of the crowd, Bren stood with his arms crossed. Later, that day, while Toma rested under a tree, Bren came near. Give me that cube, boy, he said. Toma stood up. It's not for sale. Bren stepped forward. Then I'll take it. But before he could move, a strange sound filled the air, a soft hum. The cube floated out of the house on its own, glowing bright. Bren reached out. The cube beeped once and flew away from him toward the sky. A line of light drew in the air. Only dreamers may pass. Bren looked around. People stared at him. He turned and walked away, red in the face. Toma looked at the crowd. No one laughed at him this time. They only looked amazed. That night, the cube returned to Toma's room. Dreamers protected. Portal safe. Toma smiled and opened his notebook. He drew a new picture. A school where children learned by drawing, not by tests. The cube scanned the page. A new message appeared. The sun rose gently over the village, spreading golden light over the rooftops and fields. Birds chirped happily as another day began, but this day was not like any other. Something had changed in the air. Toma stood near the village well, watching. Children gather again with their pencils, crayons, and paper. Some sat on stones, others on the ground, drawing animals with wings, houses that floated, and trees that glowed. Laughter filled the space, not the mocking kind, but joyful and free. More adults had started to watch too. Some still didn't understand, but they no longer called Toma the fool. They saw how the children smiled when they drew. They saw how the cube glowed softly nearby, floating and peaceful. But in the shadows of a small house, Bren stood watching. His eyes were not happy. They were cold and sharp. He had tried to take the cube, and it had rejected him. It flew into the sky, showed a message in the air, and embarrassed him in front of the whole village. Since that day, he had grown more angry. Why should a boy have something so powerful? He whispered to himself. And why do people follow him now? Bren had once been respected. People listened to him. But now, they listened to Toma. He couldn't accept that. Toma didn't know about Bren's thoughts. He was busy helping a group of younger children draw machines that could clean oceans. He pointed at one boy's drawing. This one is great. The spinning wheel here could help gather plastic from the water. The boy smiled. Really? Yes, Toma nodded. Even if it's not real now, maybe it will be someday. As they worked, the cube floated nearby, humming softly. Each time a new drawing was made, it scanned the paper with a blue light inside. The cube, energy was building. That night, the cube spoke to Toma again. Energy level, 95%. Portal expanding. New gateway possible. Toma sat up in bed. New gateway? Yes, the cube replied. Enough creative energy now exists to open a second path. You may invite others to enter Novi. Toma's eyes widened. You mean other people can go too? Yes, but only those with true belief. The city accepts only dreamers. Toma thought for a moment, then asked, Can the children go? Yes, a smile spread across his face. The next day, Toma gathered the children. In the square, I want to show you something, he said. A place beyond this village, a place built from dreams. He didn't explain much. He didn't need to. The children trusted him. They followed him to the edge of the village, near the big tree on the hill. There, the cube floated high. A circle of light opened on the ground. It was the portal. Toma stepped forward. Only those who believe may pass. One by one, the children walked into the light. Mira was first. She held her drawing of a singing bird with wheels. Then came Rafi, holding a rocket with leaves. Toma followed them. In seconds, they appeared inside Novi City. But this time, the city was brighter than ever. Music played softly through the air. Flowers bloomed on glass trees. Colors danced on the streets. It was more alive than before. The children gasped. Is this from our drawings? Mira asked. Yes, said Luma's voice, now speaking to all of them. You helped shape this. A large screen appeared. It showed all their pictures, floating gently like clouds. The children ran happily through the city. Doors opened for them. Small robots waved. Lights blinked in patterns that followed their steps. Toma watched with joy. Luma spoke to him alone. This is the true heart of Novi, a city powered by imagination. It is now open to young dreamers. Toma felt proud. But he also felt a small worry. What about those who still don't believe? Luma answered, let them see. Sometimes, belief comes slowly. Back in the village, the adults waited for the children to return. Most of them still thought this was just a game or a trick. But when the children came back, something was different. They were glowing, not with light, but with excitement. They spoke of floating gardens, talking machines, and towers that sang songs. Some parents listened closely. Others laughed. Stories again, said one man. But something was changing. One woman, Mira's mother, knelt beside her daughter. Did you really see it? She asked softly. Mira nodded. Yes, and it listened to my drawing. Her mother touched her cheek. Then, maybe I should draw something too. That night, for the first time, adults came to Toma's home. They brought their own blank pages. They asked shyly, "Can we draw with you?" Toma nodded. The cube glowed brighter than ever, but not everyone was happy. Bren watched from the edge of the village. He had a plan. If he couldn't take the cube, maybe he could trick someone who had access to it. He approached a group of older boys the next morning. "Toma is hiding something," he whispered. "He has treasure from the stars." One of the boys frowned. "You mean the cube?" "Yes," Bren said. "It's not for drawing. It's for power. He's keeping it from us." The boys didn't believe him at first, but Bren kept talking. Day after day, he planted small lies. He wants to be king. He's using the children. He's taking all the attention. Slowly, some started to listen. And one night, Bren made his move. Toma was asleep when it happened. A group of 3 boys entered his house quietly. They looked around and found the cube, floating near the table. It was asleep, 2 soft blue lights pulsing slowly. They grabbed it. As soon as they touched it, the cube turned red. It beeped loudly. Warning. Unauthorized contact. Identity scan. Failed. A bright light flashed. Toma woke up and ran out of his room. "Stop!" he shouted. The boys ran, but the cube rose into the air and shot up with a loud hum. A message appeared above the village. "Trust broken. Portal security activated." Everyone saw it. Doors opened. People came out of their homes. Toma stood in the center, his face pale. Bren stepped out from the shadows, pretending to be innocent, but the cube's light turned toward him. It spoke. Root cause detected. Lying source identified. Bren. Gasps filled the air. For the first time, Bren had no words. Toma stepped forward. The cube cannot be fooled. It listens to truth. It works with belief, not greed. The villagers were silent. Then Mira's mother spoke. "We were wrong to laugh at you." Others nodded. The same people who once ignored his drawings now saw what he had built, not alone but with belief, kindness, and dreams. The next morning, the village was quiet. A strange calm had taken over the streets, like the air itself was holding its breath. After the cube revealed Bren's lies, people didn't laugh at Toma anymore. In fact, they respected him now, not because of his power, but because he stayed kind, even when others were unkind. Toma didn't celebrate. He didn't point fingers. Instead, he opened his notebook, sat under the old tree on the hill, and began to draw again. He drew a city of light, where humans and machines worked together to clean rivers. He drew a library in the sky, floating above the clouds. He drew a school with no walls, where children learned by painting, building, and exploring. Soon, Mira and Rafi joined him. Then more children came, a few adults too. The mood had changed. Drawing was no longer seen as a waste of time. It had become a path to the future. That evening, something new happened. As the cube floated beside Toma, it glowed brighter than ever before. A soft voice spoke. Full energy reached. City growth now possible. New sector opening. Toma stood up quickly. "A new part of the city?" "Yes," the cube replied. "You may now design the next area of Novi." Toma looked surprised. "Me? Design it? Only a dreamer can shape it," the cube said. "Draw it, and it will be built." Toma's hands shook a little. "Can others help?" "Yes, collective imagination increases strength." Toma smiled. "Then we'll all do it." That night, he called a meeting in the village square. People brought paper, charcoal, color pencils, anything they could find. Some even used old boxes and wood pieces to shape models. Toma stood on a small stone platform and spoke loudly. But with his usual kindness, Novi is not just my city, it belongs to all of us. Now we can design a new part together. What should we build? A young girl raised her hand. A garden where animals can talk. A boy shouted, a playground on the moon. An older woman said, a place where no one is ever hungry. Toma wrote it all down. He smiled at each idea. Yes, yes, and yes. The cube floated above the crowd and scanned the air, recording every word, every sketch, every laugh. For 3 days, the whole village worked together. Toma guided them gently. He helped a farmer draw a food machine powered by sunlight. He helped an old man design a walking stick that could play music. Bren watched from a distance. He no longer tried to stop Toma, but he still didn't join. One afternoon, Toma saw Bren sitting alone under a tree. He walked over quietly and sat beside him. I know you wanted the cube, Toma said. Bren didn't answer at first. Then he sighed. I thought it would give me power. Toma nodded. It gives something better than power. It gives purpose. Bren looked at him. Do you really think someone like me can draw something useful? Toma smiled. Yes, everyone has something inside worth sharing, even you. Bren didn't speak, but he picked up a piece of paper. He began to draw. On the 4th night, the cube lit up and spoke. New sector designed. Uploading to city core. Toma and several villagers gathered near the tree. The cube projected a large glowing map in the sky. There it was, Sector 2 of Novi City. It had sky gardens, floating homes, clean water systems, music towers, and learning parks. And at the very center stood a large open hall, shaped like a flower. Luma's voice echoed from the cube. Sector 2 now complete. Portal will open for full village entry. Cheers broke out in the crowd. For the first time, the entire village would be able to enter Novi together. The next day, the cube opened the largest portal anyone had seen. It glowed like the morning sun and hummed like a soft song. One by one, families stepped inside. Children laughed. Parents looked around in wonder. Toma stood beside the portal, welcoming each person with a smile. Mira's mother hugged Toma and said, you gave our children something no school ever gave, hope. Inside Novi, Sector 2 had already come. Alive, buildings stood just as they were drawn. Trees moved with music. Walls changed colors based on feeling. And in the middle of it all, a stone sculpture stood tall. It was Toma, holding a notebook in one hand and offering a pencil in the other. A few days later, reporters from nearby cities heard about the strange happenings in the small village. They came with cameras, microphones, and sharp questions. They didn't believe what they heard. A boy opened a city with a drawing? But when the cube scanned their equipment and created a 3D model in the air, they gasped. When Toma showed them drawings and explained how it all worked, they were amazed. Novi City was real. The news spread fast. Soon, messages started arriving from around the world. Can we visit? Can we send our children? Can we share our dreams too? Toma looked at Luma through the cube. What should we do? Luma replied, Novi is ready, but it must grow carefully. True dreamers only. Toma nodded. Then we will choose wisely. He decided to create something new. The Dreamers School. A place where people could learn how to imagine, how to draw, how to believe again. And it would be open to anyone, young or old, who had the courage to dream. In the weeks that followed, Novi City became known as the City of Imagination. People didn't call Toma the fool anymore. They called him something else. Novi City was now full of life. It was no longer just a dream. It was a real place, built by drawings, powered by imagination, and shaped by the minds of kind and creative people. Toma walked through Sector 2 with a group of children. They passed singing trees, light bridges, and learning towers. Everything around them was made from someone's drawing. Do you remember when people used to laugh at your pictures? Mira asked. Toma smiled. Yes, but now those same pictures build cities. Even Bren, once full of anger, had changed. He now taught drawing classes to older boys who never believed in art before. He still didn't talk much, but when he smiled, it was real. The village had become famous. Reporters, artists, scientists, and teachers from all over the world came to visit. Some came to learn, some came to copy, and a few came with greed in their hearts. One day, a group of people arrived from the capital city. They were dressed in dark suits and carried shiny tablets and cameras. They called themselves the Global Tech Group. "We want to meet the boy who built a city with his pencil," one of them said. Toma greeted them kindly. "I didn't build it alone. Everyone helped. And it only works with imagination and belief." The group leader smiled, but it was a cold smile. Yes, of course. But we want to understand the machine, the cube. It could be very valuable. Toma shook his head. "It's not just a machine. It listens to thoughts. It opens the door only to dreamers." The man leaned closer. "What if we buy it? We can give you anything: money, houses, big buildings." Toma's answer was simple. "It's not for sale." They left the village, but they were not finished. That night, someone sneaked into Toma's house. The cube was resting on the table, glowing softly in the dark. A hand reached out slowly and picked it up. The moment the hand touched the cube, it turned red and shouted, "Unauthorized contact. Warning, warning." Lights flashed. Toma woke up and ran from his bed. He saw the back door open and the shadow of someone running away. He chased them out into the street. People came out of their homes. Hearing the alarm, Toma reached the main road just in time to see a small black van speeding away. The cube had been stolen. In the morning, the village was silent. The portal didn't open. Novi's towers stopped glowing. The drawings were no longer being scanned. The city was asleep again. Toma sat with his head down, the empty space on his table hurting more than any wound. Mira sat beside him. "What do we do now?" Toma looked up. "We find it. We tell the truth. The world needs to see what the cube really is." 2 days later, news spread that the Global Tech Group was holding a special event in the capital city. They claimed to have discovered a powerful machine that could change the world. Toma and a few others packed their bags. With help from kind travelers, they reached the city by evening. The event was being held in a glass building with cameras, lights, and a large crowd. Toma stood at the back, watching as the leader from before walked onto the stage. In his hands was the cube. "Our team has unlocked a powerful new technology," the man said. "We call it the Future Core. It can build smart cities, create systems, and even respond to thought." The crowd clapped. Toma stepped forward. "That's not your machine," he said loudly. People turned. "That belongs to the dreamers. You took it from us." The man laughed. "This boy thinks the machine belongs to him." He held up the cube. "Let me show you its power." He tapped the cube with a metal pen. Nothing happened. He placed it on a scanner. Still nothing. He raised his voice. "Activate." The cube stayed silent. A few in the crowd began to whisper. Then Toma walked onto the stage. Security came forward, but the man raised his hand. "Let the child speak." Toma stepped in front of the microphone. "This cube doesn't answer to power. It doesn't open with money or commands. It listens to dreams. It belongs to those who believe." He pulled out his notebook and began to draw right there on the stage. A floating garden. A machine that cleaned the air. A learning center with no walls. As he drew, the cube suddenly glowed. Soft blue light filled the room. It floated gently from the man's hands and hovered above Toma's head. Then it spoke. "Dreamer confirmed. Pattern matched. Trust restored." The Mio cube projected Toma's drawings in the air, one after another. The crowd gasped. Reporters took photos. The man on stage stood frozen. Toma turned to the people. This is not just a machine. This is a message. The future doesn't belong to the rich or the powerful. It belongs to those who imagine it. The room went silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. And soon the whole hall was clapping. Toma didn't smile to show pride. He smiled because now the truth was clear. That evening, Toma returned to the village with the cube. As soon as he arrived, the portal opened again. Novi City came back to life, brighter than ever. But something new appeared too. A message from Luma. New level unlocked. Global dream access. Prepare for expansion. Back in his room, Toma sat by the window, looking at the stars. Mira walked in. You stood in front of the world, she said. Weren't you scared? Yes, Toma replied. But dreams are more powerful than fear, she smiled. What now? Toma picked up his notebook and turned to a new blank page. We draw the next chapter. The morning sun touched the rooftops of Novi City, and everything shimmered with soft light. Birds flew across the sky, singing new melodies, and the streets filled with people smiling, laughing, and full of hope. Toma stood at the center of the city square. He looked up at the large floating screen above the portal. A new message appeared. World connection ready. Begin global dream sharing. The cube, now floating quietly beside him, glowed gently like it was listening. Mira came running toward him. It's happening, Toma. The whole world can now connect to Novi City. Toma smiled. Then we better get ready. The world has many dreamers. And they're coming. Across the planet, children, artists, students, and people who once hid their ideas began drawing again. In small villages, big cities, and quiet towns, people opened their notebooks and sent their drawings to the portal, and something beautiful happened. Each drawing, no matter how simple, became part of Novi City. A boy in the mountains drew a healing fountain. Suddenly, it appeared near the city's lake. A girl in a desert drew a sand-powered light within minutes. Glowing lanterns lined the streets. An old woman who once painted stars on her roof sent her design, and the city sky changed to display constellations that danced at night. Toma and his friends worked day and night to welcome new ideas. Bren built a new hall called the Dream Library, where people could view drawings from all around the world. Mira started a new school where anyone, young or old, could learn to draw, imagine, and create. Even the once skeptical villagers were now part of the team. They helped organize, teach, and protect the city. One day, while walking by the glass river, Toma heard someone call his name. He turned and saw a man in a simple white coat. His hair was gray, and his eyes were kind. I am Dr. Hezra, the man said. I come from the old space labs. We used to work on hidden technology. Long ago, we discovered a piece of this cube, only part of it. We didn't understand its power. Toma was curious. Why are you here now? Dr. Hezra smiled. Because we finally realized something. It never needed science alone. It needed heart. And you gave it that. He handed Toma a small round device. This is a star connector. If you attach it to the cube, the city can expand beyond Earth. It can reach other places where imagination still lives. Toma accepted it with care. Why give this to me? He asked. Because only a true dreamer should lead. Hezra replied. That night, under the stars, Toma sat with Mira and Bren on a soft grassy hill outside the city. Do you think people will keep dreaming? Bren asked. Toma nodded. They will. Once someone remembers the power of their imagination, they never forget. Mira looked up. What about other worlds? Do you think there are dreamers out there? Toma looked at the cube. Let's find out. He attached the star dash connector. The cube flashed 3 colors: blue, silver, and white. Then it spoke. Starlink active. Prepare an interstellar bridge. Suddenly, a thin beam of light shot upward into the sky, far beyond the clouds. Everyone in the village looked up in wonder. A portal, bigger than anything before, opened above the city. On the other side, strange but beautiful shapes floated in the air, spirals, crystals, and glowing orbs. A voice came through the portal. "We see your dreams. We welcome your spirit." The people of Novi City cheered. The world had just become much larger and kinder. In the months that followed, many new cities were created, not by machines or governments, but by dreamers. Some were underwater, some in the skies, and some in the stars. Novi became the first dream capital, and Toma was invited to speak across the globe. But he always returned home, to his little desk, his pencil, and his notebook, because no matter how big the world became, it all started with a single drawing. One evening, a Kamze young boy named Rilo came running into Toma's studio. "Toma, look what I drew," he shouted, holding a crumpled piece of paper. Toma smiled and looked at the sketch. It was a small floating home, powered by dreams and shaped like a cloud. "Do you think it will work?" Rilo asked. Toma placed the drawing under the cubes. Scanner. In just seconds, the design floated into the air. "Yes, Rilo," Toma said with a smile. "It's already working." Years passed. Toma never became a king or a ruler or a warrior. He became something better. He became a guide, a spark, a symbol. People remembered him as the boy who drew the future. And on the door of his house, which was now a museum and learning center, a small sign hung for all to see. They laughed at this fool, until his drawing made the world dream again.